I've pinned this muslin on the form. It's not sewn. I just pinned it on the form to show you. If I remove this yoke section, I have a new neckline, right? But I can't leave this raw edge like that. It's not finished. The video you're about to watch is a preview from one of my fashion design courses available on Fashion Premier Academy. Click the link below. Roll it! So in this lesson and the next one, I'm going to show you how to clean finish the edge of a neckline using two methods. One is a facing, creating a facing, how to create a facing, what is a facing? And the other is using a bias binding or a bias tape. So I'm going to show you. Okay, let's look at a very simple basic V-neck neckline. If I turn this over, this is my facing. It's a 2-inch facing. As you can see, it follows the same shape as the outline of the neckline. And basically to create the pattern, it's very simple. Just create a pattern that's 2 inches along the edge of the V-neck or crew neck or scoop neck. It doesn't really matter what the shape is. It's 2.5, maybe 3 inches at times. If I turn this over, we'll notice a couple of things. Number one, this white material is called interfacing. Interfacing is fused, glued to the facing to give the neckline a little bit of strength so it doesn't become too flimsy or fall apart. So usually along with the facing comes interfacing, and it comes in different weights, meaning different thickness, so to speak. You can purchase interfacing at your local fabric store. The other thing that you'll notice is this tiny little stitch right here on the edge of the neckline. This is called the understitch. This is an understitch. And the way you do an understitch is that when you're sewing the facing to the body, you press the seam allowance, which is usually about 1/4 inch, towards the facing, and you run a stitch right on the seam allowance, catching the seam allowance and the facing, right? There it is. This is the facing, seam allowance, facing, but you don't see it on the right side of the fabric. You don't see it on the right side of the fabric, right? This is nice and clean. The facing gets the understitch. Okay, so let's go back to this design. So if you have a pattern that has no shirring, no gathers, this is how we create a facing. But if you have gathers and shirring on a neckline, what you have to do, you have to go back to the original pattern before you slash and spread to add fullness and create a 2-inch, 2.5 inch pattern that will become our facing. So the facing will not have shirring or gathers. The facing will be flat and clean like this without shirring. Okay, you got that? So the inside piece facing, no shirring, clean 2.5 inch piece facing with interfacing maybe, and that's how you create the facing for something like this design with the shirring. Okay, to be continued in the next class.